Welcome to the Thrive Co podcast, exploring the inner side of success. I am your host, Nikki, and each week we will explore the mindset shifts, personal growth, and everyday tools that will help you to navigate ambition, manage stress, and build a life that actually feels good on the inside. Through solo episodes and honest guest conversations, we look at what it really takes to grow, change, and thrive in the modern world. Hello and welcome to Thrive Co. How are we doing, guys? I hope you've had a great week. Are we all enjoying this beautiful sunshine? Finally feels like spring/summer is here in the UK. I say that actually. I know that a lot of you don't necessarily listen when this is released and you listen later in the week or sometimes months later. I get messages quite often from people that have listened to past episodes. So it could be that you're listening to this and in true UK style, it's peeing it down with rain again, or maybe you're in a different country or continent. But either way, as I'm recording this, we are due to have a glorious, glorious weekend, bank holiday weekend, may I add, of sunshine that continues into the next week. So fingers crossed that has happened and that this aged well. But today I wanted to talk about something that has come up for me this week. However, before I do that, I've got a bit of a cool manifestation story. Well, actually, technically two stories, but it happened on the same day. So I just wanted to share them with you because I know that this podcast isn't necessarily about manifestation and the law of attraction, but that definitely plays a huge part in a lot of what I talk about and believe, and things like core identity, energy, the way that we identify our actions. It all goes full circle, doesn't it? And actually creating the life that we want is all about manifesting. That's literally what manifesting means, to create. So a few weeks ago, my husband and I went into a car dealership. It's called JQ. You might have heard of it, seen the cars in the UK. They are a Chinese manufacturer of SUV cars. So a little bit sort of Range Rover-y looking, but without the Range Rover price tag. And I have had a Suzuki S-Cross now for about 3.5 years, just under 3.5 years. I've had Suzukis for about the last 8 or 9 years. And to be honest, they serve me well. Like, I'm not really somebody that is bothered about like having a super duper nice car at the expense of other things in my life anyway. If I had endless money and abundance, financial abundance, then of course I would have whatever car I wanted. But balancing it out right now with building up the business and having a bigger mortgage, it's just not for me. Some people like designer clothes, some people like cars. I am much more of a invest into experiences and my environment kind of person. So I will invest in really nice things for the house and really bougie holidays and experiences to make memories. But cars just really aren't my jam. However, my husband and I now share both of our cars, and his car is just like, it's a Vauxhall Astra. It's just a run around. And my car is the nicer of the two, but he's not a massive fan of it, I'll be honest. And since he has been promoted at work and does a lot more travelling and client visits, he has been asking if we can look at upgrading it, getting something a little bit more a little bit more fancy. And so I was like, yeah, sure, let's look into it. It's not a priority for me, but you know, if it's important to you, let's look into it, providing that we're not going to make a massive shift in terms of the finance payment. I'm happy to look into it. So we went to this JQ dealer and a dealership, I should say. It sounds like some sort of drug deal. And basically what transpired was the finance payments would be fine. The finance agreement that I'd got with Suzuki actually didn't run out until next March. We thought it was this year. And therefore, the car was in about 3 or 4 grand of negative equity if we were to trade it in as a part exchange, because obviously they would need to put a margin on it to sell it. So we didn't really have many options. The only option that we had was to try and sell it privately, which even then we probably wouldn't have got the full amount that we needed to pay off the finance. And basically it was going to be a massive faff, I'm not going to lie. So anyway, we came out of the dealership and I remember calling my mum and being like, we can't get the car. And then I thought about it and I was like, since when has being told that I can't have something ever stopped me? I was told that we couldn't even view this house that we're in now because we hadn't sold ours. I was told that we couldn't afford the mortgage, that we would have to come out of, not necessarily couldn't afford it, but I needed to prove things financially with my business. And then also we needed to pay to come out of our previous mortgage. There was a whole thing of like, wall of challenges that kept coming up. And yet, here we are. So I thought, when have I ever been told no and accepted it when it's something that I want? And having seen the JQ, I was like, I actually do quite want this car. So anyway, we went home. I priced up the part exchange and, sorry, not the part exchange, the sale, looked on some sites, did my research, spoke to a few dealerships, and it was like, nah, you're going to have to pay. I think we owed something like 14 grand on the finance, and the car was worth about 10 or 11 if we part exchanged it, and maybe about 13, just under, if we went private. So either way, there was going to be a load of faff and a deficit of about £1,500, or do it easily and it was going to be a deficit of like 3.5 grand. So I kind of parked it and I just thought it's not even worth thinking about. And then actually, no, that's not strictly true. I actually wrote down that I wanted to manifest with ease a way of coming out of the car finance agreement and getting this new car that would mean that we weren't in financial deficit, we didn't have to front anything financially, and actually it would not be a faff. That was kind of what I wrote down. And then about a week passed by and I was driving to the dog field. It was Marley's birthday last weekend. If you follow my socials, you will see that we celebrated. He was 2. And we were going with a friend in the car to the dog field with her dog, and I got a phone call. And it was a local number. I didn't recognise the number. And I answered it and the guy was like, oh, hi, Nikki. It's Dwayne from JQ. You came in the other week. Just those worth mentioning, we've done something this week called a voluntary termination with another customer. Now, you have to be at least 2 years into your finance deal and you have to have paid off at least 50% of the balance that you owe, including the balloon payment. So if you're not familiar with finance, you basically pay monthly, and then at the end there's what they call a balloon payment, which means that you can either pay that and keep the car, you can refinance that amount and keep the car, or you can give the car back or trade it in. So I've had to pay 50% of the entire agreement, including the balloon payment, and be 2 years in. Well, I was definitely over 2 years into the finance agreement, but we didn't know what that figure was. So he was like, why don't you go home and have a look? He was like, the other thing to note is sometimes it can affect your credit rating, if you come out of an agreement early. So just check in with your finance company and see what you owe and how that would affect you. But I'm just giving you the information. So anyway, we got home that day. I looked at my credit agreement, my finance agreement, and the total amount that I had to pay was like just over 15,500 or just under 15,500. Anyway, I went online, looked at the finance payments that I've made, and it was just over 12,500. So again, there was about a £3,000 deficit. And so I just thought, you know what, we keep coming up against the same thing. It's not going to happen. We're just going to have to keep the car until next March. It's fine. Got into bed that night, and for some reason I just thought, I'm going to phone Suzuki in the morning, because I just had like a little nudge, a little knowing, a little voice that was like, just phone them. So the next day I phoned Suzuki and she said to me, yes, you would need to make the closing payment. If you make it within 30 days, your credit rating is not affected. If you don't make it, then you get a default on your credit and you have to make a payment plan to pay it back, in essence. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not going to do that, but can you just send me the paperwork so I know what figure I'm aiming for? Because I was thinking, if it's say like £2,800, I can try and manifest that somehow, I can try and create the energy around that. Whereas when I don't actually know the exact figure, it's really difficult. So on Friday, I was having my coffee in bed in the morning before I started my day, and I got an email from Suzuki, and it was the message to go into my portal to open up the document that would tell me how much I owed. And as I was opening it, it's really funny because it's not like me at all, but I was like, oh God, this is just going to tell us like that we owe that amount. It's just going to be what we thought. And my husband was like, hold on, when have you ever had that attitude? Like, don't tempt the universe. Like, that isn't good energy. I was like, do you know what? You are actually right. Maybe you do listen to me. Anyway, I opened up the letter and scanned down to where it told us what we owed, and it was £95. £95. So immediately I was like, oh my gosh, that is so wild. Like, we calculated it and we've got paperwork saying how much we'd owe, and I've definitely not made payments to that amount. And yet I'm being told it's £95. I don't know how they'd calculated it. I don't know what we'd missed or what they'd missed, but either way, it was completely doable. So we're trading in the car. So that was the first thing that happened. And then about an hour later, there was a knock at the door, and it was a delivery. And there was a girl standing there, and she was like, are you Nikki? I said, yeah. She went, let me take a picture. And I took this parcel off her, and I thought, I actually haven't ordered anything recently. Like, yes, it's, unusual for me not to be waiting for a delivery, but I haven't ordered anything. And it got like a big sticker on it from China, and like loads of scribbling as if it had gone through like loads of different, when something's just clearly gone through like customs and various things, and like the wrapping was a bit scratty. Anyway, I opened it up, and inside a dust bag was a bag that I'd ordered at the start of January, and I'd been refunded it. I'd already had a refund because it hadn't turned up, and it just arrived on my doorstep that morning. And I was like, what the hell? Considering as well the energy that I'd been in last week. If you've listened to last week's episode, you'll know that we've gone through the mill a bit as a family the last couple of weeks, and we've been dealing with some bad news and some really rough times ahead. So I'd not been feeling energetic or magnetic or in, good flow with attracting things at all. I've been kind of, surviving, not thriving. I was like, how weird that has just shown up. And you know what? It just reminded me that actually when I surrender and let go and still take the action, but actually completely detach, and I mean like completely detached from the outcome. I was not asked about that car, to be honest. Really, really wasn't. It was like, if I need to drive it till next March, so be it. I'm really not bothered. And the bag I'd obviously let go of because I'd had a refund like months ago. I think I had a refund in like March. So those things arrived because I'd completely detached from them. Now, that is easier said than done, and I do appreciate that, because if you really want something, like I have friends that have been trying to manifest pregnancies and jobs and houses, and even small things sometimes, it might not necessarily be a huge thing. It might just be your next client or a positive reaction to some content that you've posted or whatever it might be. It is difficult when you want something, but you really do have to detach from the outcome. You really do have to stop controlling and pushing. And I'm saying this for me as much as for you, because believe me, I'm the one that needs to hear this. But the things that I have detached from are the things that have happened. This house last year, I didn't have time to be attached to the outcome and the process. My nan was on end of life care, and we lost her just as we were going through the negotiations. My sister-in-law was going through her first rounds of chemo. There was a lot going on for our family, and I did not have time to attach to the outcome. I just didn't. I didn't have time in my day to think about it. If I wasn't working and focusing on the business, I was supporting my family. I was down in Birmingham a lot. There was so much going on, and it just happened. So yeah, little reminder. And I'll keep telling you about these little, the manifestation. Well, I say little, they're quite big things really, aren't they? In the grand scheme, maybe they are small, but for me, they're quite magical, quite amazing. So that was that. Anyway, what are we talking about today? So somebody said something to me this week in one of my coaching calls, which was, it really resonated. And the reason it really resonated was because the day before, and in fact, I have another story time in a minute, but it does relate to what I'm about to talk about. But they said, are you procrastinating or are you percolating? And I was like, that's interesting, because something that I felt like I'd been procrastinating on, I now realise that it was percolating. And it led me to thinking about, well, what is the difference? And if I didn't know the difference at the time, how would I spot it next time? So, if there's something that's going on in your life and you're just not taking the action, or you're just not committing to it, there is a difference between if that is procrastination and you're just holding back through like fear or self-doubt, or whether actually you just need more time to percolate, to, really figure out, is this aligned, and to sometimes think things through and create those, the action steps that you are going to take that are going to be aligned. So as you'll know, I have my recruitment business, Scaling Well Partners, which has been going for 3.5 years now. And it's been really tough times. I'm not going to lie. It's been challenging. It's been tough, but I love it. I absolutely love that business. It brings me joy to help other search businesses. It's focusing on the part of the process that I am really lit up by and engaged with. And the variety really lights me up. But it doesn't feel like it's my purpose. It doesn't feel like it's my life calling. And all of this self-development work that I've been doing since 2018, when I first got onto this self-development journey, has felt like is something that I want to really help others with. And that's why I started this podcast. And it's something that I get asked about a lot. And I know a lot about, I'm not saying I've got all the answers, not at all. But I know that in my journey, I am a little bit further ahead in terms of some of my learnings and growth than other people that could maybe benefit from that. And sometimes I feel like there's so many like self-development teachers and leaders out there who are amazing at what they teach and do, but they feel so unrelatable because of how far they are. The Oprahs, the Gabriella Bernsteins, the Jay Shettys, they are incredible and they have these amazing platforms, but also they feel very far removed from a lot of our lives, right? They are, living in America. They are hosting big TV shows and have had like massive life traumas or things that have happened to them that have completely reshaped their world. And sometimes that isn't us. Like sometimes that we can't identify. We can understand the teachers, but we can't identify with them. And so I know that just being a couple of steps ahead of the people that I can help is going to be really beneficial. And the other thing that I've really, really aligned with lately is the difficulty and the challenge that I'm finding in my journey as a female business owner is also something that I can now help others with and get them to spot their own limiting beliefs and set boundaries and help to shape their business through a better mindset and their own self-development journey. So that's really where I want to be. That's the space that I want to be operating in. It's service-based business owners, female service-based business owners that are maybe struggling with growth in their business, or they're struggling with their own mindset and behaviors, and they know that they need to work on things personally to unlock their professional development, but they're not sure how. It's like spotting your blind spots and your patterns and your behaviors. But I also know that when people talk about things like top of the funnel activity and attracting high ticket clients, and it just doesn't feel aligned at all for me. It does not feel aligned. I really contract and I really feel quite, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like what I want to do. I don't want to be stuck on Zoom calls all day, every day. Like that isn't where I feel like I can offer the most and help benefit people the most. And so I thought that the reason that I wasn't taking action on this in inverted commas coaching business, which I'm now calling a self-development business, because I'll tell you why, was because I was procrastinating and because I was scared because I felt like I couldn't offer people enough, or I wasn't, deserving. And that kind of imposter syndrome, if you like. I don't like the word syndrome, but we'll use it for this purpose because everybody understands what that means. For those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed, water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3 month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes. And actually what happened on Monday of this week helped me to see that differently. So we have a little gym room attached to our house. I think I've mentioned it before. The previous owners of this house actually cut the garage in half, which was fine by us because we only put a couple of like garden tools and bits of paint and stuff in there. We don't put the car in there. So they split the garage in half and they actually used the one room as like an office cum nail salon. And it's perfect for us because it's wooden floors. It's got a mirror in there. We use it as like a little gym room. Nothing fancy, just like a bench, some dumbbells, a walking pad, bit of storage, and some mats. But it's great for when I want to do home workouts. And on a Monday, I tend to use that room rather than go to the gym because the gym is fucking chaos, to be honest. So as usual, I went in there on Monday morning, and then my husband took Molly out for a walk. And then about maybe 9:15, just before that, probably about 9 o'clock, he came back with the dog, went inside the house, and then I went in to get, I think, my gym gloves or a glass of water or something, and he'd locked the back door. And so I knocked on the door, and when he opened, I said, can you just be careful not to do that? Because if you're on a work call or you are, in the shower or something, I'm going to be stuck outside and I've got stuff to do. And he was like, oh yeah, sorry, it's just force of habit, autopilot, which was fine. We all make mistakes. You can see where this is going, can't you? Anyway, with that, he comes out about 9:15 and he says, right, I'm off. I've got a meeting in Nottingham. So anyway, gave him a kiss goodbye. Off he went. About 10 to 10, I went to go back into the house, finished my workout, went to go back into the house, and the door was locked. And I suddenly realised he had been left for about 40 minutes. And he was on his way to a meeting, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I phoned our friends who have got a key, and they were away and they'd got the key with them, which makes sense. Why would, you probably wouldn't leave it in your house, especially if you're not there. So yeah, anyway, I called him and he was not happy. He was peed off with himself, but he came back anyway. He had to call his client and do the meeting from home. But anyway, he came back. But during the time that I was locked out of the house and had to sit in the gym, I went on the walking pad, and for once I didn't listen to a podcast. I just walked. It's very rare these days that I have silence. I listen to podcasts when I'm working. I listen to friends' voice notes. I listen to music. I should probably sit in silence on my own thoughts a bit more. And actually what happened was I ended up really thinking about this situation with Thrive Co and what I wanted to build and why it was making me feel so triggered, not even triggered, but like so icky and so like contracted when I was thinking about coaching funnels and not even coaching groups. I love the idea of group work, but just the thought of like high ticket sales and getting coaching clients and memberships, and it just felt so misaligned. It just didn't feel like me, and maybe it was the way that other people were doing it. I don't know. And also it felt like I was really putting pressure on myself to make all this happen now. And with everything going on in like my personal life and with my family, it just felt a lot of pressure. It just felt like a lot. And I had this massive realization that actually the only timelines that anyone's putting on me on my own, nobody's telling me that I need to do this, that actually I'm not doing it out of fear, because I'm still showing up. I'm still sharing daily videos and thoughts and reels and quotes on the things that matter to me and the things that I'm learning. I'm still showing up within my coaching groups that I'm part of and sharing my journey. And it isn't procrastination through fear or through imposter syndrome. And that actually I was percolating without realizing that I was lining myself to what actually does this need to look like, and not what's the end goal, but actually how do I want to position myself and what is it that I really enjoy doing in this work. And it wasn't until the next day, actually on Tuesday, when somebody used the phrase procrastinating or percolating, and I went, oh my gosh, that's exactly what has been happening. It has been that I've just been percolating the ideas and really thinking about what is it that lights me up. And actually the conclusion that I came to was I want to do more in-person events and workshops. I want to run retreats. I want to create transformations and connections with like-minded women in spaces and rooms where they can physically connect with each other and share and be vulnerable and ask questions and have access to me that isn't just looking through the camera and a Zoom lens. And actually, for me personally, that is the type of connection I feel transforms me best. And it's also the type of connection that I feel sort of those rooms I can be more vulnerable in. I don't want to be looking through a camera lens for my entire day. That isn't to say that I wouldn't do online stuff, absolutely, and one-on-one coaching would still be, an option, but it would be more selective. And the bulk of what I want to do is around, helping with the nervous system and uncovering limiting beliefs and doing intense days and workshops and weekend retreats and weeks abroad that are going to completely transform people, not just for a day, but for the rest of their lives, and unlock that business growth. And that was the realization that I had. And so with that realization now, I know who my audience is. I know who I'm building for. And that is now the focus for the rest of this year. It's not about creating offers and things. Yes, I'll probably do workshops and I'll probably create opportunities to, come into that space. But it's not going to be the pressurized thing of, I must get coaching clients, because that to me just really felt, I don't know, it just didn't feel aligned at all. So what is the difference between procrastination and percolation? Because for me, I didn't realize that was even a thing until somebody said that phrase to me. And then since then, I've been really looking into, well, actually, how would I know the difference next time? If I am feeling a similar way next time and I feel a bit stuck, how do I know if I just need to give myself time and space, or if I just need to give myself a kick up the arse and take the action because it is through fear or stress that I'm not doing it? So percolation is an active subconscious processing phase. It helps build momentum towards a solution or towards the end goal, whereas procrastination is avoidance. It's task driven by discomfort or overwhelm, and it's basically where you just feel like you want to do anything else but the thing that you should be doing. So with percolation, you'll still feel engaged. You might not be working on the task directly. So in my case, I wasn't working on workshops or offers or creating things that people could join, but I was still thinking about it, and I was still creating content that was for that audience. I was still building that audience. I just didn't know what for yet. And you'll make mental connections. Like, I have been having aha moments throughout the whole process. I've been thinking, yes, that's what I feel like. I've been feeling aligned and feeling connected, and doing kind of unrelated activities, like things like being in the shower or driving or walking, is where I've had those moments, where I've been able to really let my brain, and this is why I was saying about the importance of silence earlier, because you don't get a chance to listen to your own thoughts and your intuition when you've got other stimulation. Like, it just doesn't happen. And the other thing was, like, I still felt excited by the idea. I still felt energized. I wasn't dreading it. I was excited by the future, but it was an excitement of something that I didn't know what that looked like or what it was going to be. But it wasn't making me feel like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. And I'd given myself a deadline on it as well. And that was the other thing, I think. Like, it wasn't a start date, but it also was, I need to understand where my thinking and thoughts are going by like June time, because that's kind of roughly when I'm going to be moving into the next stage of my studying and my coaching course. I'm still calling it a coaching course because technically it is, but it will help to coach people in a different environment. And so I knew that was sort of coming, and it didn't make me feel dread. Whereas if it's procrastination and you're avoiding it, you will feel that dread or anxiety. You will feel stressed by the task at hand. So, like, you will want to avoid it. And sometimes that can look like endless research. So you can tell yourself, oh, but I'm still in the research phase. But actually, it's just avoiding actually doing the thing. And, it might be, when you were like a kid and you had to do revision and you'd spend the whole time, tidying your bedroom because you needed a tidy mind to be able to think. And you would then colour code all of your notes and arrange all your stationery. Like, those are the sorts of avoidance tasks and things that you do sometimes that you can trick yourself into thinking that it's part of the process when actually you're just procrastinating. And also another one is guilt. Like, I did feel a little bit of guilt, I'm not going to lie, when I felt like I wasn't doing the thing. But actually looking back now, it probably wasn't true guilt for avoidance. It was just the feeling of, I should be doing something else. I should be doing more by now. But really my body knew. My body was like, nah, we need this time. We need to be doing what we're doing in terms of the thinking and the percolating. So look out for the signs. If there's something that you're avoiding now or something that you're feeling like, you know what, I really should be doing that. Think about how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel guilty and stressed? And do you contract when you think about it? Or are you like energized by the thought of it, but you're just not quite clear on the path yet? So you're just taking the time to like figure it out. What about using something like, what was the rule that I read about? The 5-minute rule, that was it. So you commit to working on the task for 5 minutes. And this could be going to the gym, which I'll be honest, there's rarely percolation involved when it's going to the gym and exercising. It's normally just a case of avoidance and procrastination in my experience. But yeah, work on it for 5 minutes and you'll often find that just by starting, you will get into the flow. If you don't get into the flow and it's like, it doesn't feel good to you, then it's rarely procrastination. And normally you just need more time to align and to percolate and to think and to let things kind of flow and settle. So I found that so interesting. I found that in understanding the difference between those two, it would really help me in the future to know, like, can I just take the pressure off here? Can I just let myself, go with how I'm feeling and let things unfold naturally? I mean, it's not always the case. Sometimes if you've got like a deadline or you've got to do a project for work, and don't get me wrong, this doesn't always apply to everything. Like, there might be things that you just have to do and it doesn't really matter whether or not you want to do them. You just have to move your arse and do it. But if it's like a project that you are wanting to work on for yourself, or it's a business that you're wanting to start, or it's a new hobby, or there could be loads of things, or maybe a job application that you want to do and you're putting it off or you're avoiding it, just really try and tune in with what is the real reason that you're doing that. And actually, is it because you just need a bit more time? You need things to flow and to align? Or are you just procrastinating and you actually just need to take the fucking action? So I hope that's helped. I hope it's resonated. Please do follow the show. 5-star reviews. I haven't had a review for a while. If you could give a 5-star review, that would be amazing. A written review, I read every single one of them, and they are honestly worth their weight in gold. So for anyone that's written a review, I absolutely love you. I'm forever grateful. And for anyone that hasn't, please do go and do that. I think you can do it on Apple Podcasts. Not sure about the others. But yeah, and please, as always, share on your socials. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you are following the podcast, and don't forget to share episodes with a friend who may need it.